We wanted to make sure that our people viewing us on Facebook Live was connected to us. So, welcome back. As I said, we were just touching base on this as we continue tonight here on Workers' Voice. We wanted last week we spoke about this public office and public servants and the situations they're in, and this tonight we want to look at the situation with the revisit the situation with the exit of Ross universities and what the impact it is having on our um, country, the economy, especially the northern part of Dominica. So, to get us rolling, well, let us introduce who we've made introduce tonight. We have from the Roseau Central constituency, Mr. Glenroy Soso Coffee is in studios with me, and also from the Roseau North constituency, Mr. Danny Lugi. So we were there last week, so we continue in that discussion, and the discussion is more or less focused on this time. We're going to look at the economic situation that happened with the exit of Ross in the Portsmouth area, when it lose about 40% of our GDP. Mr. Danny Lugi, can you lead us on this one? Hold on, and make sure that you hear it loud and clear.
Well, good evening. I will cut short my greetings and just say greetings wherever you're listening from, whether it's in the Americas, whether it's in Europe, whether it's in Canada, and in our beloved country. So because of time factor, I'll go straight. I call it an editorial. So tonight I have an 8-year-old story to tell you. It is entitled A Walk Down Memory Lane of Shame. So make yourself comfortable and listen carefully. Revisiting the Roosevelt, Skerritt and Mia Motley Ross University joint venture relocation to Barbados and the dismantling of Dominica's West Coast businesses, the huge 30% decline of the Dominican economy 7 years later. While Mia Motley will visit Dominica to repay Skerritt with a thank you rally in the communities which suffered the greatest loss of jobs, loss of rental apartment revenue, and loss of hope at the departure of that university. We will recall that Dominica, in a not too distant past, had great joint venture employment policies which are non-existent today in the Roosevelt Skerritt dispensation. Take, for example, the very same Ross University. It was 46 years old. The then government of Dominica looked out for its citizens. So why do I say so? Well, 90% plus of apartments rented to Ross University students were reserved for locals, which allowed locals on the West Coast to become millionaires. If I'm not mistaken, even our host tonight and our colleague, Honorable John, rented his home to a professor at Ross. But I'm sure he's not yet a millionaire, thanks to the Skerritt and Mia Motley demolition and relocation joint venture to Barbados. Today, these student apartments are virtually empty. Ross University gone with the wind to Barbados, and the town of Portsmouth, sadly, transformed into a ghost village. Food cafeterias and canteens at Ross University were owned by locals. This was negotiated policies agreed upon between responsible government then and the management of Ross University. Local farmers supplied the cafeteria and canteens with ground provision, fruit, vegetables, meat, and fishermen with their fresh catch. A special restaurant complex was erected for Dominican vendors to serve meals to the medical students. This is now an 8-year-old graveyard of Labour Party shame. Domlec provided electricity, supermarkets, drugstores, ice cream parlors, Flo, Digicel, and Dowasco were happy to serve their biggest customer in Ross University. Portsmouth was a legitimate city back then. Dominica's West Coast and the entire northern districts were bubbling with life and businesses. All of this gone forever in a joint venture between Mia Motley and Roosevelt Skerritt. And today, Mia Motley is coming back to thank the Dominican people for electing a genius prime minister who takes care of Bajans while simultaneously sentencing Dominicans to 25 years of economic hell. Admittedly, in the past 20 years, we have seen major projects in Dominica: hospitals, schools, health centers, and now the international airport, all handed out to foreign contractors where there is no clear-cut government policy on a fixed percentage of indigenous skilled workforce and casual labor, resulting in zero stimulation of the local economy and wider national economy during construction. So that truckers are left in the cold, angrily protesting for work. Electricians, steel benders, masons, shopkeepers, restaurants, carpenters are left stranded and jobless on the roadside or opting for migration to Antigua, St. Kitts, or St. Lucia for employment. Meantime, in other Caribbean islands, responsible governments ensure that their skilled workforce and non-skilled laborers are catered for in joint venture contracts with foreign companies. There are examples of 30 to 40% of indigenous skilled and casual labor negotiated by Caribbean governments with foreign companies doing businesses in their respective countries. Is that the case in Dominica? Another major concern is the lack of open bidding to local contractors in order to ensure value for money of taxpayer funds. We cannot deliberately lock out local contractors from the bidding process. It is criminal, in my view, to handpick Chinese or any other foreign company to do every project in Dominica. And one wonders who really benefits from the no-bid contracts awarded only to Chinese or foreign companies. Maybe the answer to that question is hidden in the house of dark secrets and the double mansions at Mount Daniel. And so tonight, in conclusion, we give you the assurance that the United Workers' Party government going forward will establish new policies for joint venture contracts which would guarantee a fixed percentage of the local workforce in any joint venture where taxpayers' money is involved will be reserved exclusively for indigenous employment.
Wow, Danny Luge, that was not a mouthful, a belly full. And I think you set the platform for discussion tonight. And I want people from the Portsmouth area who benefited from Ross, and not only the businesses as well in Dominica indirectly, tonight to listen. Let us have that dialogue. Had core dialogue on the sober minds on the issues surrounding Ross and what has happened over the past 8 years. Mr. Coffee, you heard the opening salvo coming from Mr. Luby, setting the foundation, the platform. Let us take what.
Yes, let me say good night to you, honorable gentlemen. So it's a pleasure to be in the center of two honorable men. So, Luby, when you gave that explosive report, I believe already I have nothing left to say, but I will just be adding a little thing because I believe that's a good way to start. Yes, and for us in Dominica, we know that Ross started with about 11 students in 1983, and Ross grew. In fact, Dominica adopted Ross. And just, before the hurricane, Ross had about 1,215 students there, but also employed 450 Dominicans, including faculty and staff in its operation. So that tells you the magnitude and the contribution with respect to employment that Ross has made. Notwithstanding, once a country, by any standard in the world, once an institution or company contributes more than 20% of its revenue as GDP to a country, to me, the culture, the operations and the people supposed to be looked at in a way of respect, meaning that the values of that company, the prospects, the growth, you're supposed to respect, because what I've just said then, what Danny has alluded to, tells us that Ross was an important and integral company or institution in Dominica's economic lifeblood development. And so I don't believe that much respect was given to Ross, and that it is just sad that we have lost Ross. Importantly, though, Bags, we look at Ross not just on that level of contribution. We have to look at what actually, let's itemize some of the things that we believe that Ross actually brought into Dominica and what the meaning it had for us. When you're talking about tuition and fees, I mean, $83 million US dollars was coming in. And you had to wonder, okay, look, somebody say, but yeah, tuition and fees, that's not directly to the government. That is money directly paid from the students to Ross. Yes, but here's the significant thing. 30% of that money paid salaries, right? 30% paid salaries, right? Another 40% went into operations of Ross in terms of its upkeep of the environment and its building. And the other 30 was put in either Dominica's bank or the region's bank. When you put money in bank, what happened? The people lend the money. So even if Ross had its expenditure, but when they save so that when Dominicans go to the bank, the bank can lend this money to Dominicans and they could develop. But more importantly, that amount of money spent at Ross, remember, Ross at the time, house owners or apartment owners, an average of $600 US per apartment.
Let's point. Join you there.
Yes.
I wanted to see
an interaction. Right. Yes.
And that is important.
Yes.
You made mention about 1,215 students at the time. It was
just before hurricane, yes. Maria, yes.
So you're talking that this 1,215 apartments.
Yes, apartments, right.
For students. Then you're talking about faculty and staff and everybody from overseas.
That is correct.
Right. Now you're talking about the employees, people who got employed to do domestics,
right,
within those apartments, cleaning and laundry and everything. You're providing that
lawn maintenance,
right? That service.
Yes.
So you're talking about the direct impact in things. You talk about the food court that was built by United Workers Party, the food pavilion.
Yes.
So you have people being employed there.
Right.
Then I made another important point where you purchase in agricultural produce from the farmers and whatnot. So it goes back to, I was trying to bring out that level of employment, financial activities will happen and Dominicans will benefit. My house rented for Ross. I built my house in 2004.
Right.
I rented it for a professor for 4 years.
You made good money.
Yeah. And then, the political things that they left my home and went straight to the villas at Savant Pie because they were, what was going on around that time. So,
you must say what is happening at that time. At that time, the villas at Savant Bay, they actually reduced the price ridiculously so that they could attract the price.
Right, and
so
then
killing the market.
Right. So they took they were looking at targeting some of the people
that were opposing the policies.
The policies. So I was one of the first persons they targeted. So that was my experience. But goes back to where we're talking about employment.
Right.
1,215 apartments Dominicans invested in to provide for students. These apartments are empty, run down. They have the value maybe as run down about by 40%. I'm hearing that is all this problem because they are just there, white elephants, not being maintained. Nobody's living there. Maybe rats and cockroaches. That's some of the apartments are right now.
That's
people
right.
Trying to sell, but who's going to buy them? Danny. Yes, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. We're not crying over spilled milk, but people must understand what really happened to the economy.
Yeah.
We also had, and I will draw reference to the banana industry and the ripple effect the banana industry had in the Dominican economy.
Yeah.
All businesses in Roseau benefited from the banana industry then. I did an interview. I'll never forget that interview with Peter Carbon, who was the agriculture minister at that time. No, sorry. It was Eisenhower Douglas. He was an economist working in the government.
Yeah.
And he recognized that to every dollar circulating in the Dominican economy at the heyday of bananas, 90 cents came from bananas. When Ross University was there, I would put it to about 30 cents to every dollar circulating in the Dominican economy came from Ross.
Right.
So these are significant investments. So people must understand what happened when Roosevelt Skerritt just was casual when dealing with the question of Ross. You had managers of Ross who came down to speak with Roosevelt Skerritt at the time, and he actually avoided them. You know, now we're hearing of the Barbadian Prime Minister coming to Dominica to celebrate Roosevelt Skerritt for what he's done for Barbados. As I said in my editorial earlier on, you know, yes, Barbados have every reason to rejoice. They benefited from our loss. And then look, just see what happened to Portsmouth, really. Portsmouth really was developing into a major city, you know. I mean, the kind of expansion, the roads, you know, you just felt a different environment when you drove down to Portsmouth.
The nightlife and everything.
The nightlife change, you know. And I think even airlines must have benefited from the presence of Ross University in Dominica. So we must understand what happened to us. And now that Mia Motley is coming to celebrate her gain and our loss, Dominicans must be aware of what happened.
Yeah. So Mr. Coffey was making a point earlier on there, and I called him to bring in that thing about the employment. But I wanted to continue, and Danny made a very important point. There's a lot of segues we can go, but just to try to understand the type of effect it had on the economy, and especially the Portsmouth area. But you're making a very important point when I caught you to come back to the employment.
Yes, and that's very good, because although the actual books, based on the records, they showed up about 19% they contributed to GDP. And that's about 19 cents, 19 cents out of a dollar, you know, but we're not going there. But I would agree it's about 40%, because here what we didn't take into account, there were certain things we notably did not take into account in terms of the calculation. You had also, outside of just Ross operations, you had the cost of maintenance of facilities and equipment. You had the consumption of electricity and water, as Danny rightly said. You had independent contractors. You know what Ross did? Ross actually hired a security firm to take care of security down there. So all that was outsourced and it was contracted. So all these contractors have lost their jobs. You had to go to land lease. People actually rented land, you know, to put businesses there. So all these people who were getting a monthly income or yearly income in terms of their land lease agreement, they would have lost that. You're talking about airport services. Remember, students were going up and down, and you are taxi men giving that kind of service. So you see where I'm coming down to? And I come into that. Banking fees. Remember, Ross had to pay. And remember, people that doing business in the bank had to pay. Various incidental expenses, you know, incurred in Dominica. What about circulation of new currency? That's where Danny coming in. New currency, when new people come in, is new currency coming in the country? So that is not put into the report. But you have to look at it holistically. I would agree and come to the conclusion that 40% of GDP contributed to Ross operations in Dominica. So it's a big loss for Dominica. And not only that, you may have the apartment owners, but you just say the auxiliary employment, liquid going on, domestics, people ironing, people cleaning, water in the yard, cleaning. All this is just thing. So that's why when I was in Portsmouth on Tuesday, because I went there to transport some agricultural produce that was bonded to Antigua. And to be honest, even the huckster trade is not as attractive as you know. So all these things have actually impacted negatively on the Portsmouth area and environs. And to tell me, you bring in the person who is most celebrated with receiving the Ross University, to bring her even closer to the community that you're upset. I think that's a call for rejection of persons not to follow the Labour Party, because just telling you that they are coming to celebrate the eviction of Ross from Dominica.
But not that soon only so. You said I'm closer to the community that thing. But they're bringing them in per capita. I think Dublin maybe had the most employees at Ross, you know. Because Dublin is a very small community. But a lot of people from Dublin worked at Ross.
Yeah.
So you have just destroyed that community.
Well, it is reasonable to conclude that is the case by another point we missed before you go on, Honorable. We have to think too that while Ross operations went on, people were investing in construction.
Right.
So the local man who is qualified in plumbing, in electricity or electricals, he had that skill to go and do
masonry.
It. Exactly. Masonry, carpentry, people who do upholstery work. So every cabinetry. So all these people, water heaters, solar water heaters, the companies who sell. So that's a great, great loss, not just for the immediate environment in terms of where Ross was located, but extended for Dominica, and that's bad enough.
I have two friends from Paybush. One, is a dark one, is not coming to mind. I met them in Portsmouth yesterday. Drive taxi.
Right.
And maybe every day or every other day, he would be in Salisbury. He would drop his Ross students at Sunset Bay Hotel or any other hotel on the West Coast.
That's right.
Bring his ship and come to the village and hang out, making his money. There's another one that lives in Teplat, who has his rental. And he hardly came to town. It's Ross he was dealing with. He had buses that ran from Portsmouth to Ross. Never come to Roseau. Because they had so much traffic, so much business. So it just adding to the amount of people that got affected by the exit of Ross.
I know we're going to take some calls, but let me just say too, just as we are wrong that, I was doing some research as well too, and there was a report some time ago, and just to itemize what one student in terms of that student operations in Dominica would be like, let me just give it to you because it is very, very important to know what one student could have spent in terms of money for the month. So when you look at it, utilities, that student would have paid about $146, right? For food, $610, phone, $50, laundry, $30, entertainment, $180, incidentals, $10, you take a taxi, you buy something, you pass anything. So that when you add that up, $1,000 per student, right away the US.
In the economy.
And you can multiply that. Not everybody would eat out, but at least if you have 75% of the students eat out, then you know what kind of contributions the restaurateurs and the restaurant owners going to
it's about $2,680.
We don't know the figures. You frighten people because you're not coming back.
Right.
No, I appreciate that an effort was made for the Canadian American University, but with 25 students plus that kind of work.
Because Ross was, what you have to do, remind our listeners that Ross was homegrown. But Ross started Ross at Castaways Hotel, 1979. You said 83, but I think it's 79.
Yeah.
You know, with 9 students at Castaways Hotel.
Yeah.
And they moved to Portsmouth. And every government after the Freedom Party government, the United Workers Party government, they gave Ross the type of concession so that they could invest, and people, the investors, local investors, people begin making money.
That's an important point, you know. The policy of the government to ensure that the local people are included. So that Ross always wanted to set up more and more apartments so that they get a bigger size of the cake. But successive governments from Miss Charles to United Workers Party ensured that the local people had a stake in that business. And a little later on, we'll talk about, you know, we're talking about the past, but we're going to talk about the future, about new businesses, because we're not just, as I said, crying about spilled milk, but we're going to get a
recommendations.
We will have recommendations. And by the way, tomorrow morning, United Workers Party will be outside Prevost Cinema. We'll be raffling or selling tickets for a Toyota Noah. So look come on is it a white tent?
Yeah,
it's a white tent just outside Prevost Cinema, and you will see us there selling tickets, and you can be the proud owner of a Toyota Noah.
Come October 25th, 2025.
Yeah.
And so you have the first prize, Toyota Noah, second prize, Smart TV, and third prize, you have a tablet.
Yes.
The number, let me take this call. The number, people started calling already, 265.
Very excited.
Yeah. 449-3095, 449-3096, 449-3097. Overseas number, 305-432-9624. 305-432-9624. If you want the WhatsApp, 265-4334. Peter Thomas down there in New Jersey, how are you doing? 4334. Good evening on the overseas line. Welcome to the Workers' Voice.
Yes, General.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, go right ahead.
Why would the people of Dominica welcome the woman from Barbados who's under her administration sent her people to use tear gas on Dominicans? Why would Dominicans really? Are they in a political coma? Can they don't think anymore? Are they brain dead? Letting a woman come from Barbados, you're going to celebrate her in your country where she sent people to use tear gas and bullets on the people of Dominica. That woman should be sent running. She should be in London and all. But Kerry is a Chinese puppet. I don't know why he don't move to China with his wife, the one who had babies in America, and run back to Dominica with them. Don't worry. Trump will prevent them from coming back to America. Have a good evening.
Good evening, sir, for your contribution. Some points were made in terms of when Danny started, how that dollar stretched in Portsmouth. Yesterday, I was in Portsmouth by my good friend Bloaters. I went for a year court there. And the discussion about Ross and everything came up. And, oh yeah, my good friend from Vegas was there as well. Kokom was there. So we had a very good discussion. Always heated because, like, by Bloaters is like parliament. You come there and people have the different views, but always respectable and everything. So it was a very nice environment. And we were talking about the same thing, the exit of Ross. And how, just to go back to what the gentleman was saying, how do you feel comfortable as labor rights, as Dominicans, welcoming people from Portsmouth, welcoming Mayor Motley in Dominica when she took Ross away from she just take your livelihood. Mayor Motley got elected on the 25th or the 24th, sorry, the 24th of May 2018. On the 25th, she was sworn in as Prime Minister. By the 31st of May, she had a meeting with the officials of Ross. And by August, the Prime Minister came on the radio to give us a heads up because they were confirming during that day that the thing was living. Right. Yeah. Take him out on your mic.
No problem. Yeah. So I want to, there's a saying that fish rots from the head, right? I'll agree with that. So Portsmouth is the head, right? Dominica there. So the rotten that we also rot. So that is a rot for us. And rotten fruits, well, that dead. Let's take a little drift to the south. Do you remember the Dominica Brewery? The Dominica Brewery, Kubuli, right?
Yes.
We used to brew here in Dominica, What we used to brew? Kubuli.
Yeah.
We used to do Guinness.
Right.
We used to do Kyrimol.
Yeah.
Right? We used to do Shandy. We used to do Vitamol. We used to do Lubia water. Right? That company used to employ between 70 and 100 employees. Any reasonable government after a hurricane would look to see, although it was actually a private sector operated organization or company, fair enough. Even if they had covered, they were covered with the insurance, there's so much they can do. But any government would have directed its policies to ensure that our industrial areas come back as quickly as possible and to retain the jobs that Dominicans usually do. They did not do that. We are reduced now to Kubuli now being importing now. Kubuli from St. Vincent, Kubuli, Vitamalt, and Guinness. And it's not even reproducing now. There's an agent, Belfast is the agent now.
Yeah.
And you know what is reduced to now? Between 40 to 45 workers. How unconscionable is this? And this government want to come and talk, let's go and celebrate. What are you going to celebrate? 75 years of labor? That's why you have brought Dominicans.
70 years.
People, 70 years?
Yeah.
Well, you should not even celebrate that because your people come first. The wealth of a nation, what do they say? You know what they say,
Yeah.
The health of a nation is what the wealth of a nation is the health of the people. If people are not employed and not earning, how could they eat to be healthy? And that's what you have deprived the people over
The health of the nation is the wealth of the nation.
Well,
right. But let me tell you, it's go back to what you're saying, is that it's not about people's development and empowerment. It's like breaking our legs, making us dependent. Because if you look at every single sector that people were independent and thriving, this government destroyed them,
That's correct.
From the banana industry, the coconut industry, the foreign direct investment, manufacturing, small, everything.
But,
Every single industry
we
was
know the
destroyed.
hour goes quickly.
Yeah.
But we would like to tell our listeners that there is hope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because while we talk about the Ross and the banana industry, there are industries which are right under our nose that we give you the assurance the United Workers' Party will explore. You talk about Kubuli beer and bottled water.
Yes.
I mean, Dominica has a prime product in our water.
That's correct.
Untapped.
And we know with proper focus and great investment in the water industry, Dominica can penetrate the region with our quality water.
Yes.
We also speak about medical marijuana. You hear this sitting government, what they do now is to legalize a spliff so the guys can smoke. We want people to make money from marijuana. There's medical marijuana. We have the packaging of herbs and spices. It's being done on a small scale. We can do it on a larger scale. So it's not reinvention of any will,
Yeah.
We have also sports tourism. You have Ronald Charles, who already is into the cycling thing.
Yeah.
I believe we can have the off-road cycling challenge where we could invite people, other islanders to come to do, not
Adventure.
on the main
No, we
road,
could
but
put
to
a
do
pathway here.
to do the pathway.
Yeah.
So like the trails that we had
Yes.
before, you clean it up and then
Very good point.
probably twice a year, 3 times a year. So sports tourism can be a big thing.
Very good point.
You have meditourism too. The whole question of exploiting our spas and our hot springs and our herbs, bring them together to advertise Dominica as a destination for meditourism. Then you have nature tourism. We already have the whale watching industry diving, but these things can be promoted on a much larger scale where we can make real money. So we have the ideas. You have a Labour Party government in office for 25 years. If they cannot do it in 25 years, I mean, it means that it's time for them to pack up and for new, fresh ideas to come.
But let me just add 2 more to what you're saying. We have to also, the banana industry is still there.
Right.
The land is still there. We might not get the volume that we had before, but the Gizmo is still there coming to St. Lucia and Dominican Republic. So they will still come to Dominica for bananas. We'd have to renegotiate and get back on the market.
Yeah.
It will take us between
other crops.
Right. It will take us between 6 to 9 months and we're back on the market.
Yeah.
In terms of bananas. In terms of offshore schools as well. We can go out there and recruit, look for another school that will be looking to invest in Dominica because the infrastructure is already there at Ross.
Right.
You utilize it. You have the medical school they have, they can get a building for them, just about 20. But if you look at a sustainable offshore school, that will be reinvest in Dominica like Ross. And we can grow from there. If they start with 500 students or something, we have to look at it.
Gentlemen, you are making some great points, and people must listen. I hope people are tuned in, Luge. Honorable Hector John, you were just making a point, and just sorry to just come in a little bit.
No problem.
I'm so driven to that point. We are excited that we established diplomatic relations.
Yeah.
I think we must now foster an agenda, robust agenda, to have good trade relations with the countries that we have established diplomatic relations with. Look at China. Go and read about China and how they have water deficits and how their new tongues alone, because of the population they have, they're actually running out of water. But we have established diplomatic relations with China. Can we not develop trade relations and export water to China? It is a possibility. So these are the things that we have to do. We need to at least partner with our Caribbean, other countries to actually do light manufacturing, and where we short of raw materials, we could get it from the other islands. We need to foster a robust development plan to roll out Dominica's agenda in terms of getting enough food for our people, for its food security, exporting enough to bring in much needed revenue, and to ensure our people can actually work the lands that we have, because we have, Danny, we're endowed by the great land that the God Lord give us.
Yeah, but even where we are looking at it, we look at it between Guadeloupe and Martinique.
Yes.
Guadeloupe and Martinique are very much involved in light manufacturing in terms of juicing industries.
Yes.
We have what we call reinvent the wheel. We can partner with one of the companies in Guadeloupe and Martinique and get one of the juicing companies into Dominica.
Right.
We have the fruits already.
Right.
You just have to. And I mean, simple things that we can do
and that's where
the United Workers' Party is strong.
That's where even our brothers and sisters in the diaspora who are willing to help.
Yeah.
You know, we can't have brothers and sisters, and the only time we think about them is election time. We have great people with great skills out there. We have people like Gabe Christian, we have Justice Andre, who could hook us up with Dale Dangleben, who can assist us. You mentioned earlier on the medical school is still there. I'm sure if we engage with Dale Dangleben about the possibilities of bringing them a medical school there, he himself have ideas which he brought to St. Vincent when he was rejected in Dominica. So I am absolutely sure that we partnering with our diasporans, not just in the question of medical schools, but even as Jamaica does with their diasporans. You have Jamaicans in New York. They would ensure that they buy Jamaican products. You know what I'm saying? So that's the ways we have to exploit joint ventures with our own people.
And there's something I mentioned that on our program some time ago that they use in Taiwan very well. They call it reverse migration, where the government help you to come back and invest. And it's what you say, the same partnership, joint ventures, to ensure that you have that investment in your country, even though you live overseas, but it also generate employment and whatnot within the country. So you have that consistent growth, but your people getting involved. And Danny made that very important point. How do we utilize our brothers and sisters who are professionals out there, who have connections, and how they can get involved, ensuring that we have viable companies on island that will employ our brothers and sisters and bring in that type of revenue that we would like.
And that's very good. And just as we were on Ross, I just remembered something as part of Ross's corporate responsibility. I think at that time, in fact, from 1996, Ross decided again, brilliant negotiation from the United Workers' Party. Ross actually started in 1996 giving 2 Dominican student scholarships. So from 1996 to at the present time they left, about just over 57 students actually got scholarships to study medicine. Once they would have met the criteria for the admission. And in total, you know how much money was spent? 14-point-something million EC dollars. So EC dollars.
Fund the United Workers'
Party who started that initiation. So you see again, brilliant thinking. So Ross had to come to the table. That's what you do with people. And they continued up to 2018, 2017, 2018. So we must be appreciative of what Ross has done. And look, Brother Luge said it. All right, we're not trying to overspill, but we're just telling you that the government had a choice to negotiate with Ross and have Ross stay there, give them what they want. Because remember, we grew Ross to lose something that you have nurtured, you have grown, and then when it got matured and growing, then we have to be let it go.
You are listening to the United Workers' Party program and Workers' Voice there on K95. In studios with me, Mr. Glenn Royce Osokofe from the Roseau Central constituency and Mr. Danny Luge from Roseau North. Remember to join us tomorrow in front of Prevo Cinema Hall as we continue to sell tickets for a raffle. Only $5. You can get you a Toyota Nova smart TV or a tablet, and that we will do that draw come the October 25th, 2025, Creole Festival weekend. Yes, we are discussing issues around Ross, the exit of Ross. We have our number 4493095, 4493096, 4493097. If you want to WhatsApp me and you want us to read your WhatsApp message, 767-265-4334, 265-4334. And those of you on the voices number 305-432-9624, 305-432-9624.
Another area I believe that our brothers and sisters in the diaspora would be very interested in is to build a home in Dominica. And a progressive government, the United Workers' Party government, would create that incentive where would look at certain areas which could be developed, and would offer, these people land where they could come build their homes
attractive
rates, put in the necessary infrastructure, the roads, water, electricity, and over a period of time, we could invite Dominicans to come build your homes in your own country. That's a new area that we can look at.
Retirement home or village.
Yes, that's correct.
And the thing is that, Danny, you made a very important point in terms of that level of investment, and you who's going to benefit? The country, the utility companies. I was told that from Ross alone, Dominica's getting over $100,000.
Oh, well, no,
from Ross. I'm not talking about the individual student, Ross alone.
Yeah.
So then you're talking about the 100
monthly,
right? Talking about the 1,200 plus students have to pay their own electricity, pay as you go, whatever, and the other the service providers, Flow and DG was getting from the students, and so you're talking about Flow and DG was getting about a minimum of 12, let's say. The package is about 145. At that time, it was 120. 120 a month, because you must have internet at home for you to do yours as a student.
Yeah.
So about 120 a month from every 1,200 plus students.
Yeah. I remember they running the AC, they running fan, they running everything. And interestingly, in fact, Ross, you are correct. Ross, after the government of Dominica, was the biggest consumer of electricity.
Right.
After that. So you are just correct on this.
Yeah.
So a big loss again.
Right.
So thanks to the joint venture between Mia Motley and Roosevelt Skerritt, it's all gone.
Yeah.
But we are giving you the assurance.
Yeah.
You can hear from the ideas that we've generated tonight.
Right.
We're not reinventing the wheel.
Right.
We will create jobs for Dominicans and opportunities for brothers and sisters living in the diaspora to come back home and live a productive life.
And the United Workers' Party always set the pace in terms of advancing Dominicans, in terms of creating that environment for growth. I had the opportunity yesterday at Portsmouth by Bloaters, and I'll repeat it tonight. I started telling Bloaters, I'm going to tell you things off my head what the United Workers' Party did in Portsmouth.
Right.
The Robert Ross Boulevard.
Right.
Michael Douglas Boulevard.
Right.
The food court by Ross. Gave Ross close to about 15 acres of land to the north, where that's where they have the basketball, the sports area there. You had the new Portsmouth Library, 13 new classes at PSS. The cruise ship berth, they completed because my mom had built it and it was not completed. So cruise ship will go to Portsmouth. The Gilly to Penville Road as part of the Northern Tourism Link. The Indian River Reception Center, the building you have there was coordinated by Mr. Prevo and the others. I told him that off my head, and he reminded me that United Workers' Party recovered the Roosevelt Douglas Primary School and also the Credit Union building. So I told him, give me two things that Labour did in Portsmouth for 25 years. And he started scratching his head. He don't have yet, my good brokers and the other guys were there. And we were discussing, and seriously, I asked him, and I tell him, don't tell me about the coffee plant. It doesn't happen. And then he told me about roads. I said, no, not roads. They repaving a road or doing a building. Give me something new so Labour didn't put one for the 25 years. And
so here is it's true, going back a lot of years, and to the younger listeners, they might not understand, but it's good that we repeat it because we have a record of performance. And with the new blood, the new ideas, new people bonding with the elders of the party, we know how we can move Dominica from where it is, to a situation where young people feel they can live in their country.
And Mr. Donny must also say, when you're saying that the United Workers Party, the Portsmouth constituency has never been won by any other party than the Labour Party. So we're not even checking whether or not they voted us. We were just working and look at the Gafeke 2 part 2. And I even
forgot that they built, I think the United Workers Party left the money for the construction of the fisheries complex in Portsmouth.
That's correct.
And another thing that you made a very important point there. Portsmouth have been voting Labour for 70 years straight.
Yeah.
But within that 70 years, in 2019, during the general election, Portsmouth broke a record, Ross left in 2018, early 2019. And Portsmouth people gave Labour the biggest margin of win in the history of Portsmouth. They voted, after Ross left, the people of Portsmouth voted Labour the strongest, That record, So they tell Labour, thank you for taking Ross from us. We're going to vote you for what you have done to us, destroying our economy. And they voted Labour the strongest. If you're going to look at the reports from the election for 2019 and go back to the history, that is the biggest margin of victory that Ian Douglas ever got. Anybody else on this fight, not RBD, not Mike, not Ruzi, Ian Douglas got the biggest margin of victory.
What does that tell me? We need to bring back civics in our schools so that people can understand and know why they're voting. They should be voting for development. And when you lose development, you can't keep voting the same way.
But on our end stream, people are saying that good program, we're a very good program, gentlemen, good ideas on the program, and people are listening, and you're getting it right. So I know it's a good thing. Yeah. We'll continue, but I'll tell you that the United Workers' Party right now is ready to take up the mantle and take up the reins of government. I've said before, and I'll reiterate that we have done what we had to do as individuals for ourselves. Right now, we have the ability now to concentrate on the people of Dominica and to ensure that we bring a better quality of life to the people of Dominica. Mm. So the people of Dominica now must trust us, must give us the confidence, help us to help you. We need to rescue Dominica, and we need to rescue you from the wrath and ravages of this man-made hurricane Labour Party government. So we are just making a strong appeal to all and sundry that you must participate in elections so that you can get rid of this Labour Party, because they are not working in your interest. They have caused you to be too dependent on them, and we're now going to make sure that we put you in a mode of working to achieve more for yourself.
Let me just say, I read a WhatsApp message, and the person told me the message is that Ross was contributing over $500,000 per month to Dominic. So that is over $6 million a year just from Ross. I said 100,000, but it was confirmed. Somebody else confirmed right now. 500,000, $500,000 a month from Ross.
Yeah. So second biggest contributor after government.
So you understand how they have lost, and then the as I said, the domino effect on the dollar stretch, domino effect on.
And by the way, interestingly, there's a nice correlation we can bring up with that. Remember the outages that we had.
Yeah.
If Ross was consuming so much and paying all that, and being the second largest consumer, how it is that we end up having shorter outages after what's that left,
Yeah. Because you don't have money to maintain.
Well, exactly. And that shows you again, even if the electricity company, the government has shown that it has no interest. They left the United Workers' Party when the United Workers' Party sold Domlek a reasonable price so that the company taking over would have done the necessary investment. That's forward thinking.
Right.
It's obvious. So even if you sold it at a lower price, but the investment that was made was more than what you would have. Right. And at least we have never had that level of outage during the United Workers' Party, even in the Freedom Party time, than this government. And we ran out of gas. We ran out of fuel in the country, remember? So what kind of government is that? How it is that this government is still surviving?
Let me just tell you, give us we can take a few more calls before we wind up very soon. 4493095.
Our government ran out of fuel.
4493096, 4493097. Overseas number 305-432-9624 on a WhatsApp message. You can send me a WhatsApp message 767-265-4334. Yes, no. Let me tell you something. It is very bad enough.
Very bad.
Yeah. Let me even give you something government run out of yesterday. Yesterday they had the parade for police officers, young recruits. They graduated yesterday. And the hierarchy of the police force was calling out the police officers to lend them hats and belts and shoes to lend the recruits to graduate. That to show you the government couldn't get belts, hats, shoes, and other things for the young recruits to graduate. They had to try to lend it from other police officers. But money was being spent over the weekend in a bar by Kuburis and different.
While all of this is happening, that you have recruits passing out parade, and they have no hat, no belt, no shoes. You notice that the Labour Party campaign, they have nice glossy posters all over the country of Mia Motley coming to tell Dominican, thanks for your Prime Minister giving us Ross.
Yeah.
we have a serious problem here.
Yeah.
There's a lot of other departments of government that running on E. They have no photocopying machines. They have no
Toilet paper.
They have no toilet paper. I know certain,
No internet at some police stations.
So the Labour Party and their campaign, they have enough money to do whatever they want, yet to run the country, basic things.
That's why people saying that when they went to Parliament on Monday,
it's to approve a campaign financing for
$75 million was for the campaign.
Okay, and if you have $75 million now for electoral reform purposes, just for that objective.
No reform. 6 million for reform, and they had the rest of it. The 69 million was for the replacement of the paper police surveyor, Good Hope, San Sauve, and that other village, Campbell.
Well, I haven't looked at the item.
So what about Kulibi Street?
No, we're not. I see heard Senator Laurie thing. They didn't listen. They on the back burner. Still.
But 2 quick points. I mean, first of all, I've seen that in a country. The government after Hurricane Maria declared Paradise Valley and Kulibi Street a disaster zone.
Tropical Storm Erica.
Tropical Storm Erica before. All right, exactly. 2017.
No, 2015.
15, Erica, right, good. Yeah, declared, right. It has never been undeclared, up to now. So that means it's still not safe to go there.
Right.
Maybe son, yeah. So they don't even know what they're doing. But yeah, that. As we talk about the training, the police and the new recruits. By the way, I welcome the new recruits, Dominica.
About 59 of them.
Yeah, so they go, congratulations to all who passed and made it through the training. And at least we'll have a cadre of new policemen. And I just want to remind you all police officers, you were not trained for the Labour Party. You were trained to conduct your civic duties and to ensure that you protect life and property. And respect the Constitution. It's not the bidding of politicians you have to do, but you must read the Constitution and read the act that govern you so that you will know how to execute your work. But more importantly, since 2019 and 6 years later, the government has said that it was going to erect a new training center for the recruits for training. It looked like it's the Kenfield Airport that is a new that become the new venue, man. Every day you see the recruits there. So I don't know if there's a new venue. I don't know if you are aware. And there's a new venue at Kenfield Airport.
And they were living at the ODM building in Jimmy.
Right. So the government must stop putting things on paper and let people think as if things are happening. Things are not happening. Since 2019, it is reported, it is written that you are going to, in terms of your quest to develop police wing, you're going to put a new training center for police. And up to now, the policemen still have to go and rescue them or go and do some training at the Kenfield Airport. So that's bad.
Another WhatsApp message before Danny come. Sugarloaf, WhatsApp message. Sugarloaf Power Station was built because of the power demand of Ross University, and the demise of Domlec now is the departure of Ross, where the average light bill was over $250,000.
So here we go again. While our graduating policemen cannot have a new hat on there, they have to borrow a hat, they have to borrow a belt, they have to borrow shoes. We have the construction of Skerrit Mansion in Mount Daniel continuing unabated, unhindered.
Yeah.
Okay, so and Roosevelt Skerrit is collecting $64,000 monthly to run that mansion.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. Some time ago, I read a report about a $67 million that the government actually targeted for agriculture for a 5-year period. Yeah, 5-year period. But they gave one public servant how much money to build a hotel?
75 million US
dollars, right?
Yeah.
That is madness. And up till now, they cannot give result of the 67 million, they say, for the 5-year revolving, whatever it is. But interestingly, what I want to really say there, I cannot understand for any business, and by the way, I do not consider passport to be a commodity, nor is it something that we should be trading anyway. But let us say the leader of the country has said previously that they have what they call a passport, what they call manufacturing factory in Dominica. Let's put it like that. Do you know that all CBI vendors or vendors of passport, their projects are going on unhindered? Yeah. And do you know most of government projects, as Lugi has pointed out, have not been completed and they just cannot complete? Yeah. How it is that people who sell passport, that's supposed to get a commission, how it is they end up with more money than the government? Yeah. Somebody explain that to me. I don't know. Reverse maths, 5 and 5 is what?
55.
Okay.
Gentlemen, it's 28 past. Tonight's discussion, I think it will evoke a lot of memories, discussion going forward, because it's important. That's what we would like to do. People to meet us and challenge us, ask us a question. But I want them to ask the government. They had questions as well. As you said, next week or next weekend, Mayor Motley will be here, and they will be welcoming her. We'll see to what extent. But our discussion tonight, I'm happy that it also focused on what we'd like to see done, what we'll be doing as a party. And that is very important for me as a member of United Workers' Party, because sometimes we have these discussions and we just leave it in the air. We say what bad they did and what they cannot do, but at the end of the day, we don't make recommendations. And tonight we have done that. Gentlemen, before we leave, what you would like to see going forward in terms of that discussion about Ross left, we made this recommendation. But what do you like to see the United Workers' Party continue to do to ensure that the people who need to hear that information and maybe talk about it, what do you think we should be doing as a party?
Yeah, so we have seen the departure of Ross. We have seen the departure of Kubuli factory. I'm talking about the importation part of it now. We have seen the departure of the banana industry, and we have seen the departure of many important sectors and private businesses. We have seen the departure of that. One thing you have not seen is the departure of the United Workers' Party. So hope now resides in the United Workers' Party. We are the true viable alternative to rescue this country. We have a team comprised of bright men and women who can take Dominica forward. We are well trained and we are ready to execute on behalf of the people. So going forward, I would like Dominicans to invest their time and their vote in the United Workers' Party. And after the voting has taken place, we will be now attending to the business of the people, because we'll be signing a social contract with the public, whereby after elections, we will not be electioning anymore. We'll be looking at developing the country and to make sure we bring economic prosperity to the well-deserved Dominicans who have been working hard and cannot make ends meet. So I just want to say, I'm Honorable Hector John. The United Workers' Party has a track record of performance. We have been out for a long time, not been in government, but I can tell you, we are even more resolute, we are steadfast, we are even more prepared, because we can do for ourselves with our own resources. When we are in control of the public's purse, I think we are better able to do for the people.
Thank you very much. Mr. Luge, in terms of, as we wind down, you made some very, very important points tonight there in the opening remarks, and that set the foundation for discussion. In terms of tonight, what you believe we think that we have achieved in terms of the discussion and going forward? What you think we have? We did well tonight, Mr. Luge?
Well, what we want listeners to do is to think.
Yeah.
That's why we have to revisit the past and look ahead at the future. And that's what our radio program is all about. We don't want people, like when we have activities, all we think about is rum and CO and the Prime Minister giving out beers, standing by a fridge, passing kubuli to people. We want people to think hard about their future. These young people that you're passing out beers to, do they have a home? Will they be able to build a home when they reach of retirement age? Will they have an income? So we want people to think. That's the purpose of that program. I want to tell listeners also, especially in the Rosa catchment, put a mark on your calendar for the 6th of June, where we'll have a session where we'll bring about 7 constituencies together to discuss strategies and to caucus, to bring our best minds together to work out a strategy for the United Workers' Party and a strategy for Dominica. Yeah. So mark your calendar for the 6th of June.
And support our raffle tomorrow outside the Prevost Cinema, as usual. We really do appreciate your contribution. May God bless and continue to bless your finances.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. We have had a very good discussion tonight. I must say we did well. I asked you that question because sometimes we do evaluate ourselves. And we have to tap ourselves on the back when we do well. And that's the United Workers' Party. As we say, we have a track record of performance. And we have been in the political wilderness, not the political wilderness, but in the office of governance for the past 25 years. And we are ready to be back in there and to continue the work we have done. We have to continue moving forward. And we just want the Dominican public to continue to meet us, challenge us, ask us to have questions. Let us try to wipe out the political ignorance that we have and the vexation and the name calling, but let us look at how we as Dominicans work together, irrespective of what political party you support or what church you go to. But how can we, as a collective, develop our country? And that's why we are the United Workers Party, one umbrella for everybody. Come and join us. Let's move forward. We just want to thank you for listening. Those of you at home and abroad, share the link. Some people will come and just send it to your friends and go back and listen to what was discussed tonight on the Workers' Voice and give us your feedback. You can make your comments in the chat on Facebook. On what's the Q95 at? Q95 Radio FM, I think. I just want to make sure that Danny, what's it? Q95 FM Radio. Just want to make sure that I have it. If it's Q95 FM Radio, we just want each of and every one of
Q95 FM Radio. Yeah,
right, Q95 FM Radio on Facebook. You can go there and make a contribution and maybe join the chat and leave your comments. All right. Thank you very much once again. Have a wonderful weekend. God bless you and your family. Take care, each and every one of you. Let me see, which I know get some songs there.
Yeah, we have
to play something. And I always like living in the positive because I'm a Nasio guy, and I think Nasio, they say a man is never honored in his country. Nasio is a Dominican who have given us a lot of great songs. So living in the positive is one of my favorite songs from Nasio. I like songs that really uplift Dominicans, living in the positive. Yeah, from Nasio. And we're going to play this one as we leave. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful weekend. God bless you. And find a place of worship on the weekend. God bless you. Good night.
Yeah. Living in the positive. And I know good, we conquer evil. Jah is here amidst the battle. And I know love, we overcome it. Oh, yeah. Living in the positive. Oh, children, let not your hearts be troubled. Wipe away your tears and fears. Cause I know love, we conquer evil. Oh, yeah. Even through my darkest night, oh, fear not, Jah is on my side to protect that. Even though the rats are on your side, Lord, fear not, how my chances are slim. Your time my hopes are so high. Living in the positive. And I know good, we conquer evil. Jah is here amidst the battle. And I know
targeting somebody coming from this event, coming out, and then he approached them with a firearm, and then at a close range, opened fire, killing these two embassy staffers. And then when he was taken away,